Hey guys, the Wood Craftsman here. In this video, I'm actually going to show you the steps and processes used to produce this painted glazed finished door. I went to the product finishes store from Sherwin-Williams and said, hey, I'm looking for a pre-catalyzed primer surfacer to use underneath the high build pre-catalyzed colored lacquer system. And they came back with the Sherwin-Williams Sherwood F3 series primer surfacer. Now the F3 series is actually a formaldehyde-free version. I didn't ask for it, it's just something that they had readily available. And what I have to say was, for never have sprayed one of their pre-catalyzed primers before, it actually sprayed out very nicely. It wetted out very nicely. It had a very nice flow, it dried very quickly, and it chalked out very well. So the first step was I actually sprayed the back with the first coat of the primer surfacer, went and sprayed the front. And when I went and sprayed the front, I saw a couple minor imperfections. I had a little bit of air checking in one of the styles, and one of the joints here had a little tiny gap. So it was a good time to actually fill that and take care of those before moving on. So I actually went and filled the tiny air checks and that gap, let the filler dry, powdered out the entire door, sprayed the front one more time with the second coat of the primer surfacer, let that dry, sanded the entire face up again along with the back once more, and laid down the high build pre-catalyzed colored lacquer coat. The high build pre-catalyzed colored lacquer that was used was a T77 series, much like the clear. It's actually the pigmented version. Again, that stuff worked very well. Straight out of the gun, no solvent adds, no air pressure changes, no change in technique. It's straight out of the gun just like any other pre-cat. Flowed very nicely, dried fairly quickly. Overall was very nice to work with. The little bit of learning curve in this was the glazing half of it. Now glazes to the shop aren't new, however glazes over a pigmented pre-cat is something new. What I learned is glaze over a pigmented pre-catalyzed lacquer doesn't perform and behave the same way as it does over a clear coat. On the back side of this door here, I just started with Van Dyke Brown Glaze because the direction for the sample was an off-white with a little bit of a glazed dirty look. When I found out with the Van Dyke Brown Glaze, it was a very uneven dirty look and it was a very stark dark look. Even just with lightly sanding the surface prior to glazing with a gray Scotch-Brite 7448 ultra fine, it still scratched it enough where it actually bit in very uneven and actually locked down very quickly. So I realized on the back side of the door that Van Dyke Brown Glaze by itself, straight out of the pail, was not going to be an option. It was going to be very hard to control. So I thought a little bit about it and I thought, you know what happens if I were to take Van Dyke Brown Glaze and mix it with some white glaze and then maybe add some stain base to it so actually extend the wipeability of it. What I did was, because there was no actual full direction on the glaze color itself, I actually took 1 part Van Dyke Brown, 1 part white, and 2 parts of wipe stain base and actually created a much weaker brown that actually wiped a lot cleaner and for the most part didn't add a lot of color to the door. So what I have here on the front of the door is the actual final color. There's a little bit of unevenness in color, but overall it's a lot cleaner than what I expected it to be based on what I was seeing on the back. So this is kind of the final product, and again, by adding the wipe stain base and even adding the white glaze itself, definitely seems to mute the starkness of the Van Dyke Brown, lightens the color up overall, and actually wipes a little bit cleaner. So once the glaze is dry, I went and sprayed the back and the front with a coat of the Sherwin-Williams high build pre-catalyzed clear lacquer in the medium rub defect. Normally on glazes, I really think that a dull rub defect would be more appropriate just because the finish would have a more of appearance of wearing down. This, because of the 2 coats of lacquer on here, the first coat of the colored lacquer and then the other coat of the clear lacquer, this has a little bit more of a sheen to it. But again, this door isn't very old, so I expect in a week or so that this gloss will die down a little bit more. Just because gloss isn't specified, and normally what's used in the shop here is always medium rub defect, I didn't see the need for actually bringing in a different sheen level for this door. So overall, it's got a very nice hand to it, and I actually think overall it's actually a nice looking door, but it's just not what I was really expecting. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Questions and positive comments welcome. Thanks for watching.